I'm Jay Taylor. I'm the editor of a newsletter called Jay Taylor's Gold, Energy, and Tech Stocks, and I'm really happy to be with Peter Tallman. He is the president and CEO of Klondike Gold Corp. It's a company I've been following a number of years in my newsletter. And I think this may be the year when we start to see some real interesting things take place. The company's been working, learning the geology, learning the structural controls, and it seems as though Peter may have some good news in that front. Peter, thanks for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be back with you.
I know you've been working extremely hard on this story, and 6-7 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Nobody had really done much work there, geological work, until you set foot there. Nobody really tried to understand the geology. It has this tremendous history of feeding the rich placer mines of Klondike, and it's really a history story. But now you're finding the origins of that gold, and you've made a lot of progress. So talk to us about you. It's a vast project. I mean, it's absolutely huge. It's I don't know how many.
Size of a small country.
Is it
586 square kilometers.
Right, bigger than Rhode Island, perhaps,
yes,
in the United States. So in any event, you're focused on about 5 kilometers, a couple of parallel structures that you're really doing a lot of work on. Well, just give us the story and tell us what you've accomplished, what you've learned so far, and what you hope to achieve this year.
Well, just to back up a bit, it's the Klondike Goldfields, and from 1896 through 2021, there's over 20 million ounces of gold from the creek gravels. And then the geology, and what I'm now calling the modern era, really from the mid-80s through to 2015, before I got involved with Klondike Gold, has led the exploration efforts off in a tangent. Mm-hmm. And what we've just done, as you just alluded to, we mapped it. The lithologies have all changed. They were wrong. And we finally added thrust faults. For the first time, we're going to have a published map with faults on it, and you need that for an orogenic gold system. Mm-hmm. And they were never on a map. Nobody ever identified them. So just from a step change perspective, that's huge, because we can go to the thrust faults. We know they're gold bearing. Now we know where they are, and we're drilling them. And so as you said, over the years, though, we've made 2 significant discoveries, the Lone Star Zone and the Standard Zone. Mm-hmm. And they're each 5 kilometers in length, with drill holes, soils, and rock samples from surface. At Lone Star, we've drilled about 1 kilometer of that. Mm-hmm. And here's another step change, is that once we publish the Geology 43-101, which is coming hopefully by the end of this month.
Good.
And then we proceed right to a mineral resource for at least the Lone Star Zone. Mm-hmm. At least the first one. And that proves that there is this contention, again, from the modern era, the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, that all the gold was eroded away, and there's none in the bedrock. Why would you look? And so this is really proof that the Lone Star Zone, there's a significant amount of gold there. It is the source of the Bonanza Creek, the famous creek placer. Mm-hmm. And then the other discovery is the Standard Zone. And that's a parallel zone. It's also 5 kilometers long. We've got less drilling on it, but the drilling so far has been really positive. It's a better zone than the Lone Star Zone.
Higher grade.
Higher grade, at least twice the grade. Oh. And I keep saying Lone Star Zone was the first one we found. It's not necessarily the best. Yeah. Okay, well, and we have work to do at the Standard Zone. We've identified several other different zones, different thrusts that also have gold on them that are prospective. And that, within the 380 or 586 square kilometer property, this is all within 5 to 10 square kilometers. Wow. And so we haven't really begun to scratch the surface, but we've made great progress.
Peter, these orogenic systems run very deep, and you're really just scratching the surface, literally. And it seems a lot of times it's been compared to like a tree, a structure of a tree. At the top, near the shallow part of the system, you might get these veinlets and a lot of disseminated target is what you're looking at. But have you done anything deep? Have you looked for the trunk of the tree, so to speak, where you might find some like epizonal rich stuff? Is that something you hope to do sometime?
6 or 7 years, we were sitting here 6 or 7 years ago when I was looking at this going, geez, nobody's ever found gold in bedrock, let's go look. Uh-huh. What we know now is all the gold that we see is exactly the top end of the orogenic system. It's where it blows out at the top. So we're sitting there, and all of those high-grade chutes and things, that's the conduit for the mineralization, is beneath us. And the answer is no, we haven't drilled really below 100 meters vertical, and we're finding all this gold on surface. It's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And we now know enough structurally and lithologically that we can start taking shots at it. My annual budget has prevented me up until now, but we are getting a following, and there's some interest from bigger players who want to fund that. Give it a shot and let's see. I'll have no doubt it's there.
Yeah.
It's just not what we've been focusing on, building a mineral resource to be able to show you as a shareholder that there's gold in the rocks and there's money there.
Yeah.
And that's the step change that's coming this year.
Yeah. And the resource is coming very soon, you say, and that's
I possibly by June, end of June, but June, July, August, this summer, and then from that we have a preliminary economic assessment would follow that.
Okay.
For the PEA, we have to do additional metallurgical testing. So from a time perspective, it's probably going to take longer. So that might come out in early 2023.
And you've done some metallurgy?
We have done some, and it's all, not 20 million ounces. It's all been recovered by gravity with a sluice box.
Yeah. Right.
So our test work says that the gold is 90 to 92% gravity recovery.
Okay, that's a good start.
We don't need cyanide.
Yeah.
It's a sluice plant.
Right, and you're the access is very good. What about overall infrastructure? Maybe just comment on that, because I think it's very good.
It's fantastic. I was going to say, my one line is that we commute from Dawson, and for the drillers to go to the drill at Lone Star Standard Zone, it's a 40-minute commute for them on government-maintained roads. We live in Dawson. We have a 2-acre compound where we do all the core cutting and everything else and live. It's fantastic infrastructure. We have scheduled air service to Vancouver from Dawson. It's very cheap to explore. And thinking about open pitting this, which would be as a simple placer mine, the economics of it are really compelling because it takes a couple of rock trucks, an excavator, and a dozer to do that. There's no capital cost. And if you mine it as placer, you put it through the plant in the morning, you get gold out in the sluice in the evening, and I can sell it to the gold buyers in Dawson and get a check for it in the same day. There's no capital retention either. It's going to be a great year.
So you'll be doing a PEA to try to get a sense of the economics of it that you can take to the market and tell people about it. You mentioned that you're getting some bigger players, some bigger people interested in the story, some more serious analysts and so forth. Can you comment at all about who your major shareholders are at this stage?
Well, there's still Frank Juster and the Eric Sprott Foundation, and then me, and I am self-interested and fully invested in this, and so are the directors and officers, and then the other players, one in particular, no, but it's significant. They spent last year doing due diligence on us. And have participated in this last round of financing with the intention that, continue positive results and we'll back it. So I'm really pleased with that. It's nice.
Yeah, it's really a good story. It's been longer than you expected. Of course, COVID didn't help us at all with that, but nonetheless, things are coming together. And I'm really, really pleased. Do you have your drill program set up for this year, or are you kind of waiting?
We have $4 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Now we have the drill program ready to go. It's been a record snowpack this year in Yukon, and Dawson still has 4 or 5 feet of snow, and so it's gonna be a little bit later than we normally would like, but whatever.
June, May.
May. But 8,000 meters of drilling. So basically the schedule for the summer coming imminently is a geology. Structural lithology 430101 report. Piggyback as soon as possible on that, for like maybe a couple of months, is a mineral resource on at least the Lone Star Zone, which it won't be really big, but it's the first ever in 125 years anybody's ever identified gold in the bedrock. In the fall, following that, we would have a PEA provisionally with some metallurgy as an update. The PEA really will do it. It'd be eye-opening because all that mineralization that's sitting on surface, we could mine very, very cheaply.
Right.
And then we have 8,000 meters of drilling and results from that on zones of mineralization for expansion. And it's just going to be really an exciting year and a big step change from exploration, trying to answer the question, is there gold in the rocks, to, hey, we have a lot of it and we have kilometers that we can expand into.
Yeah, I'm trying to think it's like 47 kilometers.
55, but who's counting?
47
really?
in one direction, then goes like straight
It's
north.
right, yeah.
So you're looking at,
And we now have look at the map, we have 4 different crustal scale thrusts within our property. So each of those lengths are prospective.
Wow.
We have gold targets on all of them.
Right. Well, I guess there's plenty for investors to keep their eyes on then coming forward, starting with your resource and the PEA. So it's really should be exciting, and let's hope people start to pay attention. I think they will once those numbers come out. The economics look good, and then I'd like to see us start putting some deep holes down and find that trunk of that tree, that rich stuff, that is epizonal stuff that are making giving some companies a lot of attention these days. Peter, it's really good to catch up with you again.
So pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's really great.
Thank you.
All the best to you.
Thanks.